Hi everyone, my name is Leila Banijamali. Thanks so much for joining us for this webinar with Symbium and the California Energy Commission. We're super excited to have you here. The subject is unlocking CEC grant funding and solar permitting with Symbium. We're super excited about it. So let's kick right into high gear. The first thing we're going to start with is, what is SB 379? Most of you already know what that is, so I'm just going to repeat myself very briefly. So generally speaking, it's a California state law that requires the vast majority of jurisdictions in this state to make available a public-facing permitting tool that will perform automatic compliance checks for residential solar projects and issue those permits in real time. The larger jurisdictions are required to comply by the end of this September 2023, and the smaller jurisdictions are required to comply by the following September 2024. Great news that Symbium is now an option for jurisdictions to adopt for compliance, and we're going to show you a demo of Symbium that is uniquely Symbium. And so we're excited to do that. Also, we're going to have an update from our friends at the CEC on an extension of time for applying for grant funds and also how to access those funds. But before we go any further, I'd like to introduce our one of our co-hosts, Jeff Dodson from the CEC. Jeff, if you want to take the mic and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Jeff Dodson. I'm a supervisor at the California Energy Commission, and I oversee the unit that administers the CalApp program, which I'll cover in a little bit, and also can talk about our portion with Senate Bill 379. So good to meet you.
Thanks, Jeff. So my name is Leila Banijamali. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Symbium. Prior to this, I was an attorney for a number of years, went to Stanford on a fellowship. That's where I met my co-founders. They had a major breakthrough with Symbium out of the AI lab. I'll talk to you about that in a moment. Also joining me is our VP of Public Sector, Kate Didich, who leads our product initiatives and our government relationships. And then we also have, who's going to join us in the Q&A session, maybe, is Abhijit Mahapatra, who's our CTO. So if he's needed, he'll step in and respond to some questions more on the technical side. So let's dive right in. All right, so background on Symbium. So what is Symbium? So Symbium launched out of Stanford AI Lab, and we have what we call this citizens dashboard. We built it by incorporating this sort of computational technology that has allowed us to build very complex building and planning codes right into our map interface. So anyone can understand and visualize what's possible on a property, then submit a permit, which will be instantly approved because the regulatory checks are done up front. We've been doing this for years. We did it in planning. Now we're doing it on the building side and for solar projects. And so the critical team members that put this together, that enabled this to even take place, is a team of problem solvers from Stanford that are second to none. The drafter of the Sol Smart guidelines is also on our team. Coalitions of governments, local government partners that we have leaned on to include the most critical features that matter to them. Private and nationwide industry organizations with significant manufacturer and contractor participation, because they're going to be the end users of this. And so I have extensive experience incorporating these regulatory compliance experiences into solutions, and we're excited to show you what we have. In fact, our local government partners who we were working with on the planning side asked us for our assistance in developing an SB 379 compliant permitting solution that was right for their needs. And that's exactly what we did. In fact, we just went live with the city of Vacaville a few days ago, and we're about to go live in 9 other California jurisdictions. So what's the benefits of participating in Symbium's pilot program for SB 379 compliance? Well, the first and most importantly is your voice is heard in shaping this important experience. That is unique to Symbium. We have flexibility to configure this in a way that makes sense for your jurisdictions. The second, and we believe, as far as we know, we're the only one in the marketplace that does this, is we integrate directly into your online PTS, your permit tracking system. There has not been a permit tracking system we've encountered, whether it's the most popular ones or some of the least popular ones, that we haven't been able to integrate with. We can probably integrate with it if it's online. We also have integrations into the CSLB to perform instant checks on contractor licenses and to make sure that they're not just in good standing, but they're qualified to file these types of permits. And then also checks against local business licenses. So there's no downtime. Those checks are done instantly as that contractor is completing the application. You'll see that in a moment. We also cover hundreds of other instant permit types. This is so important. Jurisdictions can elect to add this on Symbium because nobody is just installing solar. They're doing it because they also want to add an EV charger, maybe electrify other parts of their home, a heat pump. And our jurisdiction partners have told us that it would be unreasonable to assume otherwise. And it's not just how they operate. You can't have a separate app for solar, a window app, a door app, etc. It's just not tenable, and it's not the ideal user experience. So we're adding this for our jurisdiction partners at no additional cost. But instead of talking about it, let's see a demo in action. Kate, if you want to take it away from here, I'll hand it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Leila. Give me 1 second to key up the demo. So what I'm going to be showing you today is the streamlined solar permitting experience that we just rolled out for the city of Vacaville. And while doing so, you'll see 3 of Symbium's strengths. First, revealing property data. Second, revealing regulatory analysis. And third, facilitating a streamlined permit transaction. So to start, I just need to enter an address. I could also enter an assessor's parcel number to start this experience. And this takes me to a page where I can learn more about the property that I entered into the search bar. So you can see a map of the property in question. I can zoom out and tilt the screen and get an understanding of the surrounding topography, the surrounding building heights, and just generally the surrounding built environment. If I want to see more information on any surrounding parcel, I can just move my mouse to that parcel and click there. But let's instead focus on the parcel that I initially entered. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see property data that we gather using the best available sources, and we work with our local government partners to identify what those sources are. I'll note that this includes environmental hazards as well as proximity to transit. Next, I'll show you the permit history that we reveal via Symbium. We pull this in real time, so you can see this is updated just a couple minutes ago. And if I click on the button, it will provide additional information about the permit, including the cost, as well as contractor information. We find that our contractor users find this incredibly helpful information so they can have a quick understanding of what already exists on the property, and importantly, whether it was permitted. Our homeowners really like to use this information as well. Next, I'm going to go to the Property Improvements tab, and this is where I can start the streamlined solar permitting experience on Symbium. To do that, I'll just click on the rooftop solar and battery storage installation button, and this will take me to the worksheet that I need to fill out in order to apply and submit my permit application online. To start that process, I need to specify what equipment will be installed or modified. So let's say I'm a contractor and I'm looking to install a rooftop PV system with an inverter and optimizers. You'll see as I do that, a few things have changed. First, the number of requirements that I need to comply with has popped up, as well as questions I need to answer in order to see if my proposed installation complies with those requirements. So let's get started. First, I'll input information about the rooftop PV system. So I'll enter the proposed brand and model number. And we pull this data daily from the CEC. So all CEC equipment on the solar equipment list gets pulled into our system as it gets updated. You'll also see that as I inputted the brand and model, information about those modules is automatically populated into the questionnaire. Next, I'll specify the total number of modules as well as the total number of existing modules. And let me just highlight that Symbium can permit both new PV systems as well as additions to existing systems. Next, I'll provide some additional information about the array mounting system, as well as the maximum spacing between adjacent attachment points. So here, I'm going to enter something that I know doesn't comply with regulations. Let's say the maximum adjacent attachment points are 112 inches apart. So Symbium immediately alerts me that there's a regulatory issue. It does that up on the top of the page where it indicates that one issue has been detected and a permit is not available through Symbium. So let's see why. So this takes us to the analysis tab. And I want to emphasize that this is where Symbium really shines. We are the computational law company. So we believe very strongly in surfacing regulatory information in a way that is actionable and easy to navigate. To that end, our analysis tab provides clear information about what regulations need to be complied with, have been complied with, and are not complied with, as well as information about how to comply with those regulations. So here, because Symbium has calculated automatically that the address I entered is in a low snow and wind load area, the maximum attachment distance is 72 inches. So what I will do is I will go back to the project scope and I will update this information to comply with regulatory information. Next, I'll input information about the source circuit wiring and the disconnecting means and the weight of the system. Next, I'll provide information about the roof surface. And I will specify that the roof structure is structurally sound. There's also a section over here in which we provided additional questions per the City of Vacaville's requirements. And I point this out to really highlight that Symbium can customize our baseline experience in order to comport with our local jurisdiction partners, their local rules and processes. Next, I'll provide information about the inverter. As well as the optimizer. Now that I've answered all the questions, Symbium tells me that a permit is required and I'm eligible to now apply and pay for my permit. Before I do that, let me just jump back to the project scope and just briefly show you that we can also handle ESS installations or energy storage system installations. I'll just give you a brief preview about that. So let me specify that an ESS system will be installed. And you can see some of the questions that pop up. I'll note that one of the questions is in what location the ESS systems will be installed. And depending on what location I specify, questions regarding what safety mechanisms are going to be installed will also appear. But let me deselect that in the interest of time, and let's apply for a permit. So first, Symbium shows all the fees that are required in order to pay for this permit, including the city fees, as well as Symbium charges a modest, non-refundable $25 service fee. Next, I'll hit the Apply Now button. And let me make clear that only at this time am I required to log in to the Symbium experience. All the information I showed you before was available to any user without a login. And that's because Symbium very much believes in making regulatory information available to all. So now I'll fill out my application details. Let's say I, as a contractor and property owner, are applying. So in the interest of time, I will take on the role of both the contractor and the property owner. I will provide my contract license number, and you'll see immediately Symbium identifies that this is an active California license and what contractor license classes are within that license. So we do this in real time. We integrate with CSLB list So we pull this information regularly. We also check to see if there is a valid business license in the city. And again, that verification is done immediately. So there is no downtime and no waiting for manual review of this information. And Symbium automatically provides me the information that I, as the contractor, am qualified to perform this work. I have the appropriate licensure. Next, I'll enter information about the proposed drop value, as well as upload required documents. If I have any question about what needs to be included in those documents, I can click on this question mark, and that will provide me information. I will also say that what needs to be included in any of these documents can be customized by our local government partners, as well as what documents need to be uploaded. And we do this because we've heard from our local government partners that having these documents available to inspectors is incredibly helpful. Next, I'll just review the application and specify that only qualified personnel will do the installation and sign my name. Then I can proceed to payment. I'll click Apply and Pay, and at this point, the application information, including all the documents that have been uploaded, gets submitted to our local government partners' permit tracking system. As Leila mentioned previously, we can work with all major permit tracking systems, as well as ones that aren't major. We have not found a permit tracking system that is online that we have been unable to integrate with. And we think these integrations provide really the best user experience. The last thing I want to show you is the Download Documents tab. This is where I can see all of the documents I have submitted in support of the application, an analysis document, which I'll show you in a second, which will be attached to the permit record, which shows all the questions the applicant has answered, as well as Symbium's regulatory analysis, an inspection checklist, which again will be uploaded to the permit tracking system, as well as documents that our local government partners believe are important to provide to the applicant. So let me just quickly show you what the compliance and the project scope and compliance document looks like, as well as the inspection checklist. And again, this can be customized in order to our local government partners' needs. And with that, that brings us to the end of our demo. So let me unshare my screen and hand it back to my colleague, Leila.
Thanks so much, Kate. I love watching that demo. It's riveting as always. So really excited to see that instant permit get issued. It never gets old. So just a quick recap, uniquely Symbium, your voice prioritized, so we can configure this experience that we'll see. You saw that also with the upload of documents and site plans. That is only available on Symbium. And then the integrations, of course, more permit types covered. We showed you solar, but we have a whole host of other permit types that, you know, could be hundreds in your jurisdiction. We can add the same experience to. We're not a permit tracking system, so we would just generate more of those permits for you and then basically funnel more permit volume to your jurisdiction, to your already existing PTS. We just supercharge it with that regulatory analysis. The next steps, if you're interested in learning more about Symbium and working with us, is just send us an email, hello@symbium.com, and we'll be happy to respond, set up an email, set up a meeting, have a conversation with you, a discovery call, we call it, understand your challenges and needs. Maybe you've had experience of something else in the past. We want to hear about it. And then if you sign on with us, we'll just get started right away. We'll have a kickoff call. We can get going very, very fast. We do have 9 jurisdictions that we've signed on already. So actually about to launch with 9 jurisdictions. We went live with Vacaville 3 days ago, and we've been processing permits on their behalf. It's going wonderfully. It's directly integrated into their eTrack permitting system. So the only other thing I'll mention is there is a one-time configuration fee with Symbium. And I want to say that it is, the majority of the work that we do is front-loaded. So that's the reason. But that fee is of the type that falls within the category of allowable costs for reimbursement. And if there are any budgeting restrictions whatsoever, or if you've already used your CalApp grant funds, then just talk to us anyways. We don't want to leave any jurisdiction behind. So just have a conversation with us, and we'd love to work with you. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jeff from the CEC for an important message on funding. Take it away, Jeff.
All right, hey everyone. I'm just going to share my screen real quick here. Let's see, 1 second. Okay. Should be showing up now. Great. Okay, cool. So good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for having me today. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Jeff Dodson. I'm a supervisor at the California Energy Commission that oversees the unit administering the CalApp program and also reporting for Senate Bill 379. And so I'll cover this now. So a quick look at what I'm covering over the next 10 minutes or so. I'll overview the CalApp grant program requirements and the key parts of Senate Bill 379. So first, starting off with the CalApp program. Basically, this offers grants to California cities and counties to adopt a permitting software that performs instant automated code compliance review, enabling the jurisdiction to issue permits immediately for standard residential solar or battery storage. The CalApp requirements are intended to ensure compliance with Senate Bill 379, which I will also overview briefly. The program started with $20 million, which came from the 2021 budget bill. We started taking applications last year, and we're now down to our last $1.5 million after awarding grants to over 300 jurisdictions so far. All 540 California cities and counties are eligible to apply while funding lasts. We're pleased to announce that the application deadline has been extended to May 1st, 2024, which is an additional year after the original deadline. This is due to the reappropriation of remaining funds in the latest budget bill that just passed about a month or two ago. The application is very short and easy to complete and submit. The application form is available on the program webpage, hyperlinked on the slide here. It's a simple 4 pages, and you can email it to our team for submittal. You don't need to have anything lined up before applying, since we simply reserve the funds first, and then we pay reimbursement after the fact. Funds are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis, so we definitely recommend you submit applications as soon as possible. So let's take a quick look at what the program is about and what you need to do. The point of the CalApp program is to assist all cities and counties to implement software that enables the immediate issuance of a permit for standard residential solar and battery storage projects. Permitting processes vary by the building departments themselves, and some cities may already have good processes, but many still do not. In some cases, cities can take weeks to approve basic permit requests, and this is what we're here to change. Our program allows for any software to be implemented so long as it meets the requirements summarized on the slide. Full details and requirements can be found in our program solicitation manual, which should be reviewed before applying. Whichever software options are implemented, whether that's Symbium, SolarApp Plus, in-house developed software, or some other option, it must be able to automate code compliance review to enable the immediate issuance of a permit. We have a simple application process for easy participation. Step 1 is just to get an application to us. Once you apply, we reserve funding. Then the applicant will complete all activities to implement the new software. The funds don't expire until 2027, so there's still plenty of time to get this sorted out. After full adoption, the CEC will verify completion, and then the awardee can invoice the CEC for reimbursement of eligible costs. Here's a quick look at the funding structure for CalApp. The grant amount that we reserve is predetermined based on population size of the jurisdiction applying. The grant award sizes are the maximum funding amount. The actual amount that's paid is based on the costs that are encountered during the term of the grant, which can go up to this amount. And here's a quick look at what can and cannot be reimbursed. This is just a summary, and a complete list can be found in our program solicitation manual. We anticipate that most applicants will use the majority of funding to reimburse staff resource costs used on the integration into the jurisdiction system. We also allow reimbursement for other costs, such as training and education for staff and local installers. One important note is that we cannot pay for activities that occur before you have an executed grant agreement with the CEC, so make sure you apply soon if you've already started. For jurisdictions that already adopted an eligible software program, there may still be opportunities to participate. For example, we provide funding for maintenance, which may include adding support for energy storage paired with solar energy system permitting to the existing platform if this functionality didn't exist before. So here's just a quick look at our application form showing all 4 pages. Most of it is a simple checkbox style form. Like I said before, we accept application submittals electronically via email. The applications will be reviewed and processed on a non-competitive first-come, first-served basis while funding lasts or until the submittal deadline. As I mentioned before, we've already received and approved over 315 applications. We're down to our last $1.5 million, so just be sure to get those in soon. And then this was already covered a little bit already, but I'll just kind of give a quick highlight summary of a couple of notable things in Senate Bill 379 and also the CEC's role in that bill. So I'll just kind of cover this quickly since this was kind of already mentioned. Basically, this law went into effect recently and requires cities and counties to implement software for automated permitting, pretty much similar to what CalApp already encourages through our grants. Part of our role here, the bill assigns the Energy Commission to adopt guidelines related to annual reporting and to facilitate this reporting. These guidelines were already adopted earlier this year and can be found on our SB 379 reporting webpage, which I have linked on our last slide. As was kind of mentioned already, exemptions to 370 bill are based to SB 379, I should say, are based on population sizes. Cities under 5,000 are exempt, and counties under 150,000 are exempt, and that includes the population of cities within them. Jurisdictions are expected to comply by September 30th of this year for those with populations greater than 50,000, and those under 50,000 that are not exempt have an additional year until September 30th, 2024 to meet these requirements. So as I mentioned, the CEC's primary role in SB 379 is simply to facilitate annual reporting following compliance. So we have adopted guidelines which spell out the details of this reporting, and this is available on our webpage. Basically, we just use a simple online data portal that a representative from each jurisdiction will access once a year to submit data. And here's a quick summary of the data that we'll collect. It includes a few basic items like jurisdiction name, reporting year, and latest estimated population. We also collect the total number of permits issued, separated by permits for solar or those issued for storage paired with solar. Within each of these 2 categories, we also collect the portion of that total issued using an SB 379 compliant software. The data collection process is intended to be quick and non-burdensome for jurisdictions while still allowing us to understand trends and how the online platforms will ultimately help streamline the solar permitting process. And these reporting requirements apply to all non-exempt jurisdictions. So that means cities above 5,000 in population and counties above 150,000 in population. So that pretty much wraps up my portion of the presentation here. Here's a couple bits of key information to stay informed and to follow up with questions later. As you'll notice here, there's a couple links that can provide more information where you can get signed up to our listserv, contact email, and also our 2 web pages. I believe this presentation will get posted at some point, so if you don't have enough time to write this down or anything, don't worry. You'll have access to this link soon. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Leila.
Thanks so much, Jeff. So I'll just share a final screen here. We'll hang out for a little bit longer after closing. If anyone has any questions, just drop them into the Q&A and we'll answer them. Otherwise, thanks everyone for joining us, and it was a pleasure showing you what we're up to.